Welcome to what is actually a rather unfortunate special show for us to be doing. We're actually in a place which should be a national emergency zone. This is Delhi, that's India Gate, if you can see it. I'm going to ask my camera person to pan the other way and show you Rashtrapati Bhavan. Can't you see it? This is Rashtrapati Bhavan. Isn't it beautiful? And it's not even early morning right now. So theoretically, this is not as bad as it gets. The air pollution is right now at 600 levels AQI, and this is at 10 o'clock in the morning. Jayadar Gupta is with us, the founder of Nirvana Being. That looks like biological and chemical warfare. Is that really what's required?
Absolutely. We've got to understand what's in the air. So, when paddy burns, it's not just the particulates, it's not just black carbon nanoparticles, but there's a lot of pesticide that's used. So this air is full of chemicals. And anyway, just even our local emissions, people are burning plastic, people are burning tires. Once winter comes, all bets are off. The poor man is going to use whatever they can find to stay warm. So this is AQI over 300 to me is not air pollution, it's chemical and biological warfare.
Air pollution at this point right now, and of course it's particularly bad right now, it's we can check it, it's 613.
Yeah.
613 AQI is what? 300 is hazardous?
300 is hazardous. I mean, I want to tell people this, that at 250, I think, any city of the world should shut down. I mean, I don't know if you know, but Bangkok at 160 just a few months ago shut down all schools. And on Tuesday, our children in Delhi were going to school when the AQI was 1,000. I mean, it's just amazing that we don't have anybody who's looking at this.
And if I look what's happening, people are actually taking selfies. There are kids around here. Life is seeming to proceed. We've become so numb. Actually, maybe this year, for the first time, I'm at least seeing the issue coming up. I mean, there are a lot of people have been making an effort. You and others have been pushing for awareness.
Right.
And that may be required because I think it's time now that people are starting to recognize just how bad
No, I think it's great. This is the first time ever in 6 years. I've been working on this issue for 6 years. This time I think people are listening. People are reading what I write. People are listening to what I say, and they're following the story. So, that's great. I mean, that's just all good news because awareness precedes change.
So you said, Nirvana, I mean, you had a personal experience, of course, maybe which you can share, and that's a scary experience to have.
Yeah, so, I'm a sportsman, have been all my life. I was training for a marathon in October 2013. I'd run about 10-12 Ks that morning. In the evening, I had a whistling sound in my chest. And later that night, I was being rushed to the hospital. My lungs had folded. I got to the hospital. I needed, support to breathe. And, a day or two later, they found a patch in my lungs. There was a whole fluid collection. I mean, it was really, a difficult situation. And it was actually about a year after that by chance, through a diplomat, I learned about air pollution. She was telling me about her symptoms and how she suffers from, she's a victim of air pollution. And once she started talking to me about her symptoms, it was like my Nirvana Being moment, my aha moment where I was like, oh my God, I'm dying with every breath. And that's when I became this activist who started talking about, air pollution and raising awareness. And on the other side, I was forced for my own survival to look for solutions.
So, if that's what okay, obviously sports people, anybody running outside in this air it's not healthy.
Right.
Actually going for a walk in Delhi, people say, oh, get some exercise, it's probably really bad for you. This air is, it's like you might still be smoking a cigarette, I guess, is what's happening.
About 30 of them.
Yeah, not per day, yeah.
Yeah.
So now think of the children.
Yeah.
Think of babies.
Yeah.
Think about people who can't afford to have air pollution, not air purifiers. We'll have to find the solution. I'm going to break this up into two parts. Let's try and find what people can do to shield themselves.
Sure.
And then we will spend maybe next week, take a look at some of the more broader issues, right? What can be done for the city, for the region as a whole. I have to say, I'm looking at these people walking behind you, those poor tourists who've just come. They've been told, come to India, it's incredible India, come and see it. They're looking absolutely shell-shocked at what they are seeing. All right, what can an individual do?
Well, there's lots you can do. I mean, obviously as an individual, my goal is, if there is an emergency, how do I reduce my exposure and the exposure of my family, okay? The easiest way to do that is, of course, putting on a mask. You need a CE certified N95 mask to protect yourself. The only way to put on a mask and actually have it work for you, the most important thing in a pollution mask is the fit. If it's not sealing your face entirely, so you need to do a fit seal test, and I can demonstrate that in a moment. But if you can't even afford a mask, just shallow breathe. I mean, you can't do anything that gets your heart rate up. You got to just reduce the amount of poison going into your body. So just shallow breathe, just sit. Put your kids in front of their books or a television or a phone.
Keep your kids from going to school? Is that what a lot of parents are saying?
Look, when kids go to school in the morning between 6 and 8, that's the worst air of the day. So the colder the temperature outside, the more concentrated the poison where we breathe. And children are even lower,
Yeah.
So children going to school, whether it's a private car.
Yeah, those kids seem to be celebrating. I'm not sure what they're celebrating for right now.
I think it's a group from a college in Kerala who's come here to enjoy Delhi. It's really sad.
Why you would come from Kerala to Delhi at this time of the year, I don't know. All right, so one is masks. That's fine. You should do that. Don't get any exercise.
Yeah.
You can't avoid breathing, but breathe in a shallow manner.
Right. No, but I want to come back to children, because children are, have the greatest impact, because they have developing lungs. It cuts both ways. So it's very difficult to keep a child still. They're always bouncing. They want to play. They want to be active. It's part of their development, both physically and cognitively. It's very difficult with kids. You can't let them out. How long can you box a child? What we've all started doing is, because it's so bad outside, is boxing ourselves into closed rooms and, closed homes. It creates a carbon dioxide problem inside. So what do? You're screwed outside, and you're toast inside.
Actually, sometimes that's an interesting point, because over the years, I've also been trying to do some measurement.
Yeah.
And what's really scary is that quite often the air pollution inside, indoor pollution, is actually worse than outdoor pollution. And that's, of course, particularly bad in many poor homes and others where you're actually burning, cow dung and other stuff inside there. It's not just an urban problem.
Yeah.
By the way, there are two things which I think are important to note. It's not just an outdoor problem, it's an indoor problem.
Yes.
It's not just an urban problem, it's a rural problem.
Yeah,
and it's not just a Delhi problem, it's a North India problem.
So yesterday I had a lawyer reach out to me from Lahore, who's filed the PIL in Pakistan, saying we got to collaborate. I have people reaching out to me from Bangladesh saying we got to collaborate. Your air is my problem, my air is your problem. So,
Bangladesh is slightly far away, but certainly, UP, Punjab,
this paddy
Haryana
is going out to Bangladesh and, moving through the Bay of Bengal back to Chennai.
Not at the same levels as you have, but I think...
Yes, even down to Sri Lanka for that matter.
So let's just look at some of those issues. Indoors can be as bad as outdoor, if not worse?
Indoors is definitely worse. So the largest source of indoor pollution is your kitchen. You got to shut your kitchen towards the house. You got to exhaust it well. We Indians do a lot of tadkas and oil-based cooking, which is extremely bad for health. So your largest single source of air pollution inside is your kitchen. There's lots of other things. If you have rugs and heavy drapes, and if you use HEPA-less vacuum cleaners, if you do jhadu, I mean, just imagine. A PM 2.5 particle takes 6 hours to 2 days to settle down, and when you do jhadu, you're like putting it back into the air.
So it should be, so instead of doing jhadu, you should be doing wet
pocha.
Wet pocha
Wet
is a much
dusting,
better.
wet pocha.
One of the questions that relates to everything that you've been saying is, it's also important to understand what's in this air. You're saying, as you rightly said, PM 2.5 is the pollutant that everyone is so scared of right now.
Right.
When you are measuring air pollution in Delhi, one of the things that strikes me the most, and I don't have an answer to this, maybe you have an answer to this, is actually carbon dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, all of these are in the good category. Even right now, it's 600 is the AQI, but those pollutants are in the good category.
Right.
So what's doing it? If it is entirely burning and stuff like that, theoretically that should be right. If it's vehicular pollution, sulfur dioxide should be rising.
Right. So, let's understand what is the source of PM 2.5. So PM 2.5 is particulates that are smaller than 2.5 microns. I want to call it black carbon nanoparticles. Okay. So they're a direct result of combustion. Something's got to combust. So we are combusting CNG, we're combusting all fossil fuels. Wood, dried cow dung. We are combusting a lot of waste. All of our waste is burning. Industrial emissions, thermal power plants. We're probably one of the few countries that is still backing, coal-based power. So, most important contributor to air pollution across India is the poor man lighting their chula at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. every day using wood or using dried cow dung in the monsoon time. That is the single largest contributor to air pollution in India.
This crisis, though, is caused by some specific factors, because there are times, I want to put up this chart, this is the time when it spikes. There are a couple of specific spikes. The specific spike right now, post-Diwali and stubble burning, that's what's causing this spike. And there'll be another spike a little later in the year, unfortunately. Now, this can be caused by regional and by other factors. So whatever the individual is doing to protect themselves helps you up to a point. And here's a checklist that we're leaving you. This is what you can do to protect yourself right now, right this minute. But if a real solution has to be found, it needs to be a regional, national, perhaps even a global answer.
Yeah, and that involves going after the sources of pollution.
So let's walk around and ruin our lungs a little bit more. Next week, Jay, we're going to come back and we're going to try and show you what can be done at the regional level, because it has to be done that way. You can't solve this at an individual point.